How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I have with me Tyler Hill. We're going to be looking at the market, take a look at SUI, which is breaking out, take a look at altcoins in general, because they are at an interesting point. We'll also be talking about Inauguration Day and what's going to happen next in the crypto market, whether we're trading, what Tyler just took some profits on. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, turn on the bell notification underneath the video. There's also a link to Tyler's channel underneath the video. There are also some links in case you do want to trade crypto. There's a link to BTCC. You can sign up in just a few minutes. You get some sweet rewards too. You get a 10% bonus on first-time deposits. You also get lower trading fees. There's also a link to Blofin as well. I use multiple exchanges. I like using multiple exchanges because you never know what's going to happen with an exchange, and they have different sign-up bonuses. So it's nice to have money in different places. Some also allow you to trade different cryptos, and I have a link to CoinW as well down there. So figure out which one you like. I use all three, so definitely check those out. Thank you so much, and let's get over to the video. Tyler, thanks so much for coming back on the channel. Curious your thoughts about the market right now.
Yeah, it's in a pretty good spot. You know, we're in a very good spot. I think that some people may be getting a little bit ahead of themselves just in general. Obviously, we've seen a lot of great things, and I noticed we're in that type of market to where when the market does a little, people take it too far, right? We give them an inch, they run a mile. And so we're kind of in a spot right now where we are seeing some great things that I can go over here in a second. You know, a couple of breakouts happening. Obviously, we saw SUI break out, Solana's breaking out, ADA broke out, Total 3 broke out, but we're still seeing a little bit of a pullback and a bit of holding on things like Bitcoin, on things like Ethereum, on Total 1, on Total 2. So it's like it's a weird balance right now where like there's bullishness going on, but it's not fully confirmed bullishness yet, and bit of a weird balance to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And it's interesting too, because like I think about it, if you think the bull market's going to last for a bit longer, like this is probably the time to buy, like to dollar cost average or something if you want to make your positions a little bit larger. Because I don't like buy and hold. I don't want to wait for a breakout because like you miss it by a day or two and we're up like 30, 40, 50% on some altcoins. So dollar cost averaging makes sense, but like trading might be interesting when we're going up to resistance. So maybe you can give us an idea for like what's breaking out, what we still have to confirm and that kind of thing.
Yeah, so let's actually start off kind of just looking at what has broken out, just so we can kind of actually get a picture of where this market's at, right? So what I want to focus on first and foremost is Total 3. And I actually made a video about this earlier because I was like, hey, we actually just saw a very important breakout happen. Total 3 is the total market cap of all cryptos minus Bitcoin minus Ethereum. So it's the actual real measurement of the altcoin market, at least in my opinion, because Ethereum's become so big at this point that it kind of does shift Total 2 around a little bit in a way in which isn't a good representation of the altcoin market. And so what we can see with Total 3 is that it did break out. And this is the source of so many people's bullishness. This is what people are so excited about. The fact that we had been in this descending structure for so long. I mean, ever since December 7th, we were seeing pretty much the entire altcoin market either down or sideways, which is not fun. Intrinsically, this is just a very annoying place to be in. But we finally saw this market break out over the last 24 hours, putting us in a spot to where the altcoin market actually is making those first steps towards going towards the upside, right? Towards actually continuing upwards. A lot of people are bullish right now because it feels like the moment where this could finally be coming to an end, and we may actually start to see the altcoin market continue upwards. It makes a lot of sense, right? We have Trump's inauguration coming. That could be a catalyst in itself to cause some sort of altcoin rally. There are things in the market brewing right now that could open up the door for this move to happen, and that is why people are so excited, especially after a breakout like this. Now, as I mentioned to you before, though, although this is a very good thing, I feel like people may be getting a little bit ahead of themselves, because if you kind of peel the curtain back, there are still some things that need to happen to confirm that this is going to be a sustainable breakout, and that we're not getting kind of trapped in some sort of high manipulation zone, right? Now, for example, one of the things that I do want to point out is the fact that, yes, Total 3 is breaking out, meaning that a lot of our alts are breaking out. Things are looking good. I mean, look at crypto bubbles on the daily. SUI, Jasmy, ARB, HNT, Pingu. A lot of these ones are looking good, but if we go to something like Bitcoin is still trapped within this range. Bitcoin's not been able to make that move. It means that retail investors are pushing the prices of these altcoins up, but institutions aren't making moves like we thought that they were going to in a time frame like this. And that's something you can't ignore, right? Bitcoin itself, not broken out of this range between 100K and 92K. You look at Ethereum. Ethereum is starting to make a move, but it's struggling at a major resistance zone right now. We had all the support from this bottom that we put in down here. We're trying to break out of that support, break out of that resistance zone, flip it back into support and continue, right? We still got ETH doing that. You look at Total 2, for example. Total 2 still in this descending channel. We've not seen that breakout from the macro altcoin market yet. And so because of all of these things, because of what we're seeing on Bitcoin and Ethereum and Total 2, although this is a good thing, what we're seeing this breakout here, we can't say that we're out of the woods yet, right? Because quite frankly, at any given point, all of these liquidations that we're seeing on Bitcoin, for example, on the 1 day, on the 7 day, all of these liquidations right here, they might get met. And we are still in a position in which Bitcoin could easily just head back to the bottom side of this range, pull the market down with it. And then we're in a spot to where a lot of these breakouts we just saw, they turn into fake outs, and we don't want to see that. And so sorry for the long-winded answer here, but in general, I think it's important to understand that even in moments like this, you can't only get caught up on one chart, on one signal, on one thing that happens. You have to be able to look at the bigger picture and recognize there are still steps in front of us that we need to take if we are going to see a true, thorough breakout in the altcoin market.
Yeah. Do you think you can show us SUI, because it's performed so well? But I'm kind of curious. What do you see in the chart? But then also, like, how far do you think SUI can go when we haven't broken out on Total 2 and when Bitcoin and Ethereum are still kind of hampered right now?
Sure. Well, there will be cryptos that will just outperform everything, and that's very normal, right? And so SUI is a good example of one that's made that run, and it's made a move without needing Bitcoin, without needing Ethereum, because altcoins as individual entities don't particularly need Bitcoin. They don't particularly need Ethereum, especially in periods in which the market's not dumping. Something like SUI can take off if we're just seeing sideways ranging movements. My worry then comes from if Bitcoin and ETH start dumping, how that would affect SUI, because that would generally pull its price down, very similarly to what we saw from XRP and ADA when their prices started pulling back as a result of the market effects. But when you do look at something like SUI, right, it's doing good. It is doing good. I actually will go ahead and let you know that I did take some profit off of SUI this morning. I closed down 5% of my total position. I am already fully initialed out, meaning I only have profit left in. I did take 5% of my total position out. And the primary reason that I did that was because, one, yes, SUI is moving against the market. SUI is one of the cryptos pumping, and there are still cryptos that have not got their pump yet. And one thing that I'm a huge fan of is taking profits from the ones that are pumping and rotating that into ones that have not pumped yet, that I have high convictions on. So that's something that I did. And one of the other reasons as to why I did it is because although SUI has been looking amazing, I'm very happy with what it's done, I'm not a fan of the structure it's creating. What we can see here is that SUI is quite obviously creating an ascending channel. Ascending channels have a 80 to 90% chance. This depends on the type of market that you're looking at in the asset class, but oftentimes it can be considered an 80 to 90% chance of breaking to the downside at some point. And does that mean that SUI's price can't, absolutely send it to the upside? No, of course it can. There's a 10 or 20% chance that this happens, but I'm not a fan of leaving my profit on the table or leaving all my profit on the table for a pump that has a 10 or 20% chance of happening. Now, SUI very well may continue higher. SUI pushing up towards the $5.50, $6 range wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. And as that happens, I will continue to take more and more profit because, as I mentioned before, cryptos like this do have a high chance of breaking out towards the downside. And that looks like SUI at this point falling back, below $4. But in the future, that could be a more 30, 40% correction that could end up on the way at some point. And people may say, that'll never happen. That never happens. You're being bearish. That's FUD, which is hilarious because I bought SUI 500% ago. But if you look at something like Bitcoin, we've seen this happen time and time again, right? You look at what Bitcoin literally did just last year now, right? Last year, you can see the ascending channel. And I was taking profit. The moment we broke that 50% threshold right here, this is time when you start taking profit because you never know when that breakout, 80, 90% chance of happening, will happen exactly like this. So yes, although for SUI, I do think it's great. I think the long-term picture is great. I think SUI is going to break $10 at some point, probably even this year. I do think that'll happen. I do just worry and get concerned about the fact that we're at the top side of a structure that has a 90% chance of breaking to the downside. So
yeah. And I think with newer cryptos too, people have to realize that it's extra volatile. Like you don't have people that have been holding it for 6 years that are waiting and are fine holding it for another 6 years, like maybe Cardano or XRP or something. Like SUI, I was looking today, it's had 4 or 5, 30% drops like in the last couple months. And then it's had 2 80% drops, and it's less than 2 years old. So like it has a ton of volatility. So anyone that says that it can't fall down 30% is insane, because it was just down 30%. But yeah. Okay. So we covered Bitcoin, altcoins, SUI. Maybe we can turn away from technical analysis for a second. We have Trump coming into the office in 2.5 weeks. Curious if you think that this is going to be something that's a bullish catalyst moving up to this point, and people are going to say, well, the strategic Bitcoin reserve could be talked about and I need to buy before it, so then we pump up beforehand. Or I don't know, if they don't do it, then we're going to dump down like 20-30%. So I'm curious how you think the market's going to view it. I know it's just opinion based, but do you think it's going to be bullish or bearish moving into that?
I think that intrinsically it's going to be bullish. I think on the surface it's going to be very aggravating, though. Now, the reason that I say that is because, again, intrinsically, whenever you put a president into administration that supports an asset class, the asset class will do well throughout the administration unless economic factors just hamper everything, right? I would say we all agree to that. The likelihood is that USA-based cryptos especially will probably do pretty damn good under Trump. So that is a good thing. And I think that that's why the market pumped. I don't think it's just the Trump pump. I think it's just intrinsically the value of the market went up as a result of the network effect and higher demand. Therefore, the market goes up because it's worth more. I think that's fine. One thing that I do also like while we're talking about the bullish side of things is the fact that the market's not pumping yet. I do like the fact that we were able to cool down, that we didn't just rally. If we were rallying all through November, all through December, all into January, I'd be almost fully exited out the market by now, because I know what's coming. What's coming is January 20th is the top of the market. That's what I would expect to happen. But it's not what we've seen. We saw a healthy pullback, healthy correction. We saw healthy outflows. We saw all of those things a month or within a month of Trump being inaugurated. And what it actually means to me, or what I imagine at least, is that this is a result of the market somewhat maturing, recognizing that we can't just put our eggs in every single freaking one narrative basket that there is in the market, and that people are starting to grow up through it. And so I think from a bullish perspective, that's actually a very, very good thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's always difficult when you get to this point in the cycle, because most people, especially if they hold altcoins, they're just waiting to get out. Like they're waiting for us to pump and pump and pump, and then they're exiting the market. So I feel like we can already tell that obviously altcoins are going to absolutely dump at some point, but they might go up 300% before then. Bitcoin is a little bit different, I think, with institutional adoption. And there are a lot of people that just say that they're never going to sell Bitcoin. Like that's not their goal, to turn Bitcoin into fiat. But I think you'll also see proxies like MSTR or like the miners probably dump pretty hard, because people are willing to get rid of that, but it's a little bit more difficult to get rid of Bitcoin, and people emotionally feel more connected to it. So it'll be interesting, depending on how many nations come out and start buying Bitcoin, or if Trump just says, hey, we're going to hold on to our Bitcoin and create the strategic reserve, and that's it. Like there's no actual talk about buying. I think a lot of people are considering that as a real possibility, and maybe they'll buy in the background, because that would be the smart thing to do. But we'll probably still feel that, whether it's OTC desk running dry or whether it's them actually having to buy from the market or something. Like eventually we'll figure it out. But yeah, it'll be an interesting next couple of weeks. I think people want to stay tuned in, because there's going to be a lot of stuff too, because we've had a couple holidays too, a couple weeks of holidays. And this is towards the beginning of the year where people are actually back in the office, probably starting 2 days from now. And there are probably going to be a lot of announcements. Tyler, thanks so much for coming on. I'm going to have you linked underneath the video. Any final thoughts?
I usually tell people before I leave your channel every time is to make a strategy and stick to it. But I would actually say that right now, I just want people to be careful. It's just one of those moments to where in moments like these, when you have catalysts like the inauguration, when you have catalysts like obviously the things that will happen post-inauguration, right? All of these things, it's a moment where it's going to become very emotional. Well, I would expect this market's going to get extremely emotional very fast. We might be talking even throughout this weekend and stuff like that. And in a moment like this, the best thing that you can do is, again, just make the strategy and stick to it. Because in days like today, where a total 3 is breaking up, a total 2 hasn't yet, total 1 hasn't yet, Bitcoin hasn't yet, ETH hasn't yet, it means that the market is being moved as a result of retail investors. You got guys like Elon. Love him or hate him, but the guy does move things and he causes things to happen. So when he starts making these things about Pepe and all this stuff, it's going to cause retail investment. And when retail is in charge, when retail is the one moving things up and down, they're the ones who are the most likely to lose. And so you have to understand that when retail is pumped, it's risky, and that's where we're getting to right now. And so you just have to be careful. You have to be cautious. In my opinion, low leverage trades or no leverage trades right now until we can see some market structure and market clarity. But obviously, only time will tell, and I think it'll be a very interesting couple of weeks here.
Yeah, great advice. You're not going to get out at the perfect time when you set up your strategy, but the goal is to get out with a significant profit. Even if you leave a lot on the table, you still got out and made a lot of money. We're going to have links to Tyler underneath and links to different exchanges where you can leverage trade if you're interested, or you can buy spot. You can have a different place to trade non-KYC. So check those out. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Peace.